want to learn about keto and carnivore lifestyle and how it can transform not just your health but your overall well-being. Today on Magnetic Women Monday, we are learning from Lynda Barco, a woman who not only transformed her own life but has helped many others do the same. Let's hear her story and discover what true complete well-being really means. Hi Linda, thank you so much for joining Magnetic Women Monday. I'm so grateful that you're here today with us.
Oh, hi, Anika. I'm honored to be here. Uh, I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be very fun.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Let's make it fun.
Yeah.
So let's start with your version one story. So before coaching, what was your personal health journey like?
Well, I think around the year 2014, I've always dabbled with diets this way and that way, but in the year 2014, I started to experiment with the keto diet because my weight was beginning to rise. I was nearly 200 pounds. And I
Okay.
was like, this can't happen. This is not me. I'm not going to let this happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only did my weight increase, but things were starting to hurt when I got up in the morning. My feet hurt when I walked. By the end of the day, my knees were hurting, and it looked like I had two donuts underneath my skin. There was so much inflammation and water under my skin. But I thought that was all part of aging, waking up with sore joints, slowing down at the end of the day, not feeling the best anymore. I thought this was all part of aging. But I
Okay.
thought the weight doesn't have to be there as you age. So let me
Yes.
do this ketogenic diet. All I have to do is eliminate these carby foods for a period of time. I'll lose the weight and then I can continue on with my life eating the
Okay.
stuff that I like to eat. But just let me start this, right?
Right, right.
Doing the ketogenic diet, I realized that the swelling under my knee was going away. The
Mm.
pain with my feet in the morning was going away. And I thought, wow, the weight must have did this, the weight must have put all the pressure on there. But I started to research things on the internet, probably, I don't remember specifically, excuse me, but probably recipes, because when you first start keto, you're making these keto treats and keto this and keto that and trying to mimic a standard American diet. But I found out that keto can resolve these inflammation problems. And so the swelling, the water is a problem of inflammation. And when you get rid of the carbs and get rid of the sugars, that the inflammation goes down in your body. So if you have joint pain like arthritis, or if you have swollen joints, like I did under my knees, that goes away. And so not only can you lose weight, but you can really get rid of some of this pain. And that's really what started me on my coaching career because I thought, if I can do this, and I
Mhm.
don't have at the time, I don't have a college degree. I didn't take any healthcare courses out of the ordinary, a few, but not, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. And if I can do this, everybody can do this. So I started to spread the word.
Okay. So the person who doesn't know what is ketogenic diet, do you want to just simplify what is this diet and how it is different from other thing that we eat it on a regular basis?
Sure. A ketogenic diet is just a very low inflammation diet. And so it focuses mostly on protein and fat.
Okay.
Starts anywhere from 20 to carbohydrates up to 50 to 100 carbohydrates, depending on the person. And so what happens is if you reduce those carbs, reduce those sugars, you start producing ketones, and your body uses ketones for energy, your fuel, versus sugar or carbohydrates that your body will use on a standard American diet. Ketones actually are a cleaner fuel to use, a steadier fuel to use. And so that's what I'm talking about, a ketogenic diet. And what the foods do you eat with a ketogenic diet? Is you eat leafy green vegetables, low carbohydrate vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, lettuce, cauliflower, avocados. You have a few berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. But the rest of your diet is comprised of fatty cuts of meat.
Oh, okay. So it's mostly like focused on fat. So what kind of fat you used to take that helped you transform your health
Well,
other
in the
than
beginning,
vegetables?
I I I got rid of the processed fats, the seed oils, and we don't
Okay.
want to use any of those seed oils, vegetable oil, corn oil. So I just replaced them with, in the beginning, like avocado oil,
Okay.
olive oil, and that worked quite well for a long time. But as I transitioned from a keto lifestyle to a carnivore lifestyle, I then changed. Now I primarily have beef tallow, butter, occasionally lard. So
Okay.
the animal-based fats.
Okay. But then keto is often criticized for its being very cholesterol. And then, so what's the truth from your experience and what is the science behind it?
From my perspective and from a lot of the keto doctors in our community,
Mm-hmm.
they have come to the conclusion, and there's several research papers on PubMed, on the Cleveland Clinic, that a high total cholesterol is not dangerous. What is dangerous to our heart health is those inflammatory markers. So if your blood has a lot of the sugar in it, it's damaging the endothelium inside of your cells
Mm-hmm.
that they used to think, because of a scientist in the 50s and 60s called Ansel Keys, they used to think because there was LDL cholesterol around the damaged artery that the LDL caused that. What the LDL is doing is repairing that. So the dietary cholesterol that you eat doesn't raise the cholesterol in your body. So dietary cholesterol doesn't eat total, or doesn't equal the total cholesterol that you have inside your body. Your liver actually produces the amount of cholesterol that you need, and cholesterol is needed in your body. It's needed for various things. It's needed
Right.
to repair. It's needed to make hormones, the lipid hormones or our sex hormones. And so, from what I see today, a lot of people, especially women in their 50s and 60s and 70s,
Mm-hmm.
they're having a lot of difficulty from the era that they grew up in, where low fat was promoted as being healthy. So they were doing all the healthy things, but
Right.
now their bones are weaker because they didn't have the cholesterol in their bodies to create stronger bones. They're having a hard time thinking because your brain functions better with more cholesterol, because your brain is partly cholesterol. And they're having hormone problems because their hormones weren't producing the way they should, because they didn't have the amount of fats in their body to produce that hormone.
Oh, okay. So having a ketogenic diet actually impacts our hormones as well. So
Yes.
do you want to deep dive more into it? Like how does it impact our hormones and how those hormones can impact our, daily life? Could you explain a little bit more about it?
Well, I can try, actually. Uh, we have different hormones in our body. We have lipid hormones, which are our sex hormones. And we have peptide hormones, which are hormones made of protein. So the lipid hormones are made primarily from the fat, and the peptide hormones are made primarily from the proteins. And so if you take away the fat or you're having a low fat diet, or if you're having seed oils,
Mhm.
those lipid hormones, which are comprised of the fat that we eat, are going to be less than optimal if they don't have the amount of fat that they need, or if you're using a fat that's not good for you, such as the seed oils. So they're going to be less than optimal. And so, some things that can happen if your hormones are off balance, if people have some anxiety in their brain, the women have problems conceiving, they have problems carrying a full term pregnancy, they have things um, happening to their body. That's why there's so many fertility clinics around here now, is because people are having problems conceiving, they're having problems carrying their babies full term, and it's because of having this low fat for such a long time. We were told to have low fat options, that it was better for you.
Right. Should keto be taken by everyone in general, or is it for a specific group of people who are having issues with their health?
If you're having some metabolic issues, that those people in specific should have a ketogenic diet or participate in an elimination diet, because 90% of our metabolic illnesses are due to inflammation. Things like Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, arthritis, type 2 diabetes. These are all diseases that have been produced. The outcome is because of eating that high carbohydrate, low fat diet. So those people,
Right.
if they want to reduce those metabolic disorders, yes, they need
Mhm.
to be on a ketogenic diet. Do I think everybody in the world needs to be on it? I don't. I think if you are aware and cognizant of just eating a whole food diet, an unprocessed food diet, so a whole food diet, and not eating processed foods. And what I mean by processed foods, if it's made in a factory or a building somewhere, we
Right.
shouldn't be eating it. But seasonal fruits and vegetables grown around you that are not
Mhm.
processed, yes, I think that's appropriate for people. And I think that if we have children
Okay.
and we start them out that way, I don't think they're going to develop those metabolic disorders that so many people have today.
So what are the some of the food we should incorporate in children's life on a daily basis that is good for them, and then they, like, in future they won't have to go into diet plan or something like that if we do it
I
on a regular basis?
I think fresh vegetables,
Mhm.
right? I think fruit occasionally, especially fruit that is grown in the area that you live in. So I
Okay.
live in the northern United States. I don't think
Mhm.
it's appropriate that I eat bananas that come from the southern part of the hemisphere. Um, I don't grow kiwi fruit around me, so I don't think I should be eating that.
Yes.
Um, so our bodies were set up to cycle. In the summertime, we would put on some weight, put on some fat, because in the wintertime food could be scarce. And so you go without those things and you reduce the inflammation at that time, and you get rid of all of those diseases. And so if your children are born and you nurse them until they start having some foods, you feed them those whole food diets, the cheeses and the eggs and the soft meats, of course, and the vegetables that are grown around you, and a little bit of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure the people in the ketogenic realm have heard of Dr. Ken Berry and his wife Nisha. They have had two children within the past 5 or 6 years, and that's how they are raising them. And they're healthy kids. They're bright kids. They're way ahead. Dr. Rob Sivas has a child. He's probably 7 years old now, a little boy. He fed him the same way. Their metabolic markers are fantastic. Their intelligence level is good. Their IQs are very good. And I think it's because of the diet that they allow them to have.
Right.
Not that they restrict them from everything in the world, but when they're at home,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they have is that Dr. Berry calls it a proper human diet.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, when I was going over your profile, you changed from keto to carnivore. So
Yes.
just wanted to understand that. What lead you to transit from keto to carnivore? Did you see any limitations here that you would be able to, compensate in carnivore, or what was the reason of this transition?
It was multifaceted. When you are carnivore, you don't have to weigh and measure everything to stay under a certain amount of carbohydrates. So if you eat meat, eggs, a little bit of dairy, you're going to probably be like 5 carbs and under. So I didn't have to measure anything. I didn't have to weigh anything. And so it was just much easier for me just to eat the meats. And then I had started to go through menopause and having some menopause symptoms. And
Mhm.
going carnivore helped those menopause symptoms tremendously. Like, I went through a period of time where I didn't sleep at night because I was taking the blankets off, putting them back on, taking them off because I would get super hot. The bed would get hot. I'd have to get up, and then I'm cold. So I get back under the blankets. I didn't sleep. So when I went carnivore, those symptoms went away. I didn't have those terrible things. And I didn't have the mental part of the menopause that came. And so when you just go carnivore, the inflammation is zero. So on a ketogenic diet, you still have a little bit of inflammation because plants have what we call phytotoxins, oxalates, lectins, phthalates, and they can cause havoc in your body if you overdo them. When you are carnivore, we get rid of those plant toxins, so there's no inflammation in your body. And when you have no inflammation in your body, you don't have all of that mental anxiety that goes on with it. You don't get those big hot flashes. You sleep much better. And that right there, the whole time I'm on keto and I'm researching carnivore, and I'm getting all of this information and I'm learning all of these things, reading and stuff. I'm thinking this is really good. And how come more people don't know this? Why are we relying on pharmaceuticals to fix our problems instead of fixing the root cause? And so I've always been a person that doesn't like to take those chemicals. And so I try to figure out how to fix it on my own. And today we have the internet that is like all of the information at our fingertips. We just have to figure out the right questions to ask. And so when I moved to carnivore, I started researching more deeply
Mm-hmm.
and more deeply. And I've been carnivore since 2018.
Okay. So that means you have completely left out any leafy vegetables, any vegetables in the world. It's only and only are focusing on the meats.
Only
Only.
meats, occasionally a few eggs. I relied on eggs a lot in the beginning of my carnivore diet because they were cheap. But only eggs. The only time I have Any vegetables of any sort is if I'm forced to. So I'm out
Okay.
maybe at a family function and they only have so much meat.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have to share with everybody. And so then I might have some vegetables to go with it because I'm not going to take my share and everybody else's share too.
Right. So I would like to talk a little bit of mindset behind eating carnivore. So usually what people mention, it takes really long time to digest any meat that we eat. Is it good for us? Because in what I know in the Eastern and now even in the Western countries, usually people usually used to rely and like go vegan and then eat leafy vegetables and all this. Like, did you see any change in the
I
digestion?
did. I
Yeah.
did. I used to be before keto, before carnivore. If I ate certain things, my stomach would bloat out. I would look like I was about 6 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It would bloat out. I thought that was normal. I didn't know that that was a problem with something that I'm eating. Eventually, I figured out the things that bothered me, like I couldn't have popcorn, and that would happen with the popcorn, and my stomach would hurt terrible. I couldn't have some of the processed meats, like the sausages and stuff like that. That would hurt. Things that were deep fried in seed oils, that would make my stomach hurt. When I switched to keto, it would happen occasionally because you're having a lot of leafy green vegetables. You're filling your plate probably half with these leafy green vegetables and then the other half with meat. So you would still end up with gas and stuff, but it didn't hurt terrible. When I went to carnivore, I no longer have any bloating. I no longer have the gas. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's really helped my digestion. And I come to realize afterwards why. It's because that meat and the fats have a lot of collagen in them, and the collagen is very healing for your gut lining. So when you are eating the processed foods, when you are eating a lot of those plants with the phytotoxins in it, it damages your gut lining. So when you go carnivore and you have the bone broth and you have the fats and you have the meats with the collagen in it, it heals your gut lining. So your gut is able to process the things without the bloating. So when you're having all of those plants kind of set in your upper gut and they ferment. It's like you're making beer in your upper gut. And what happens when things ferment? They get off gas, and that
Mm-hmm.
gas makes you bloat,
Mm-hmm.
makes it uncomfortable.
Right.
When the meat is in there, it doesn't ferment because we haven't fed it any sugars to activate the fermenting process.
Okay. So, in terms of micronutrients, I want to understand without vegetables, how you take care about your micronutrients.
So we have a certain number of essential nutrients that you have to get from your food, right?
Right.
That our bodies cannot make.
Mm-hmm.
All of those essential nutrients are found in meats.
Oh.
There's no micronutrients. There's no essential nutrients in plants, none. There's essential nutrients in meat. So that's why long-term vegans, long-term vegetarians,
Uh-huh.
after a bit of time, they start not feeling the best because they have to supplement or they have to change their diet. Initially, they feel great, and I think that's the reason they feel great is if you're vegetarian or vegan, is you get rid of the processed foods. You're eating a lot of vegetables, you're eating a lot of fruits. You're not eating processed foods and you're not eating a lot of those seed oils. You're cleaning your diet up from what it used to be. And so you do feel better for a period of time. But there's been in many long-term vegans, long-term carnivore, or long-term vegetarians who have come into the carnivore space And they have said, I didn't realize how badly I felt. I don't think I could do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a mental thing for them because they think if I don't eat animals, I'm doing the humane thing, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be the mean person to take any life of any sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really hard for them to move from that vegan or vegetarian space that they're in where they think that they're doing a humane thing and coming to the carnivore space. But once they do make that switch, none of them go back.
None of them go back, right? Yeah, because nowadays I see celebrities even they are promoting like being vegan and all that, and people who are just watching YouTubes, they just switch it to being vegan, even without understanding what is the meaning of vegan, how it's going to impact short term, long term. The information that you just provided, all this needs to go out, and then they need to have the details that this is actually going to impact you long term, and just not focus on what is happening right now, because ultimately there is something where you have to switch to more of protein instead of just focusing on leafy vegetables and depending upon the fruits.
Right. And then I think a lot of people, a lot of the vegetarians, a lot of the vegans, they will say, well, I'm having lentils, I'm having beans, there's
Yes,
protein in that,
yes.
right? But the protein in those plants is very different than the protein in the animals. And so a plant is a different species than people and animals. Animals are different than plants. So the bioavailability in those plants is very small. So if you had, and I don't know what the specific numbers are, but like 10 to 20% of the protein that you have in those beans and legumes and stuff are only what you can use. So versus an animal protein, your body can use all of that protein. So you
Okay.
really have to eat a lot of those peanuts and nuts and beans to get the ample amount of protein that your body really needs. And so what happens is these plant-based people, plant or how do I want to say it? Because I'm animal-based. Yeah, plant-based would be right.
Yeah.
They're eating all the time because they have to eat all the time to
All
get
the
the
time.
amount of stuff that they need for their body.
Mm-hmm.
Carnivores usually only eat twice a day. And there's a lot of people in the carnivore realm that only eat once a day because you can get everything that you need in that one setting or two settings.
Right. I am just curious to understand your like routine. What do you eat throughout the day? What's
This
your
morning when I got up, I wasn't really hungry at first. It was a few hours. And I bought some of these. They're not ribeyes, but they're rib steaks, and it was probably 6 ounce. I cooked that up and I ate that, and I'm not hungry yet. And for me, I ate probably about 9:30, and it's 3:30 in the afternoon. I may eat again, I may not. If I'm not hungry, I will just go to bed and eat tomorrow. If I'm hungry, before 6 o'clock, I'll eat. After 6 o'clock, I don't like to eat because while you're sleeping, your body's supposed to be resting and repairing. It's not supposed to be digesting food. And then when you're carnivore and so your body runs on ketones, runs on the fat rather than the sugar, you start feeling a little hungry, but it's not that hangry, angry, irritable feeling that you get when you're on that standard American diet. You
Yeah,
can put it off. It's there. Yeah, I'm starting to get hungry, but I'm not going to die if I don't eat this minute.
right.
Versus somebody on that's a sugar burner or a carbohydrate burner, they get irritable, they get angry. I've got to eat right now, or I'm going to get dizzy. I'm not going to be able to do
Yes.
anything. I'm going to get, yeah. When you're
Yeah.
carnivore, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I've noticed that in me as well. Because if I'm like throughout the day, my like the whole day I ate vegetable and those things, like I like I feel like now I'm hungry and now I cannot think about anything, and then I end up having headaches.
Mm.
So yeah, that's very common. So maybe I would love to switch to carnivore for at least 1 month and see the difference, because since few months I'm noting no gas, little bit of bloating, and my diet is specifically carbohydrates and vegetables. So, yes, I can totally relate what you just mentioned. So, beyond this physical changes in your clients, have you noticed any mental transformation in your clients?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so when you use sugar,
Mm-hmm.
your brain runs on sugar, which creates, what is the word I'm looking for? Busyness, anxiety. It's not
Right.
calm. Inflammation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you are using ketones or fat, your brain uses mostly that, and there's no inflammation. And so people who are carnivore for a period of time have this thing that they call the carnivore calm. And
Okay.
so they're more relaxed, they're more easygoing. They don't get the mood swings like very excited or very depressed or very angry. They just seem to be joyful, happy people. And in the carnivore realm, and I know a lot of people in the carnivore realm, it's like a family where everybody's getting along. You don't have any of that disruption. And that has to do with their mindset. You know, we're trying to help each other, we're trying to achieve health. We don't have any of that dissension with people are causing difficult times. So people actually have come off depression medication.
Oh, wow.
Christopher Palmer, he is a doctor specializing in psychiatry or psychology. He wrote a book called Brain Energy.
Okay.
And Dr. Georgia Eads, she is also a doctor who specializes in mental health. They treat their patients with the ketogenic diet so that these patients come off of their psychotherapy medications for the most part. Not everybody, of course, but depression, um, multiple personalities, all of schizophrenia, all of that stuff, it gets much better when they are on the ketogenic diet. So they use this diet as a form of treatment rather than all of the pharmaceutical medications.
Okay. Wow. So you have created complete wellness coaching. So what is that? Do you want to explain it a little bit?
Yeah, complete wellness coaching. I take not only the food part of it, but I also include movement. So, what exercises work for you? Not everybody can run 2 miles, and I don't really want you to do that. So, we
Mm-hmm.
have the food, we have the movement, we have the mindset. And so, we want to think in terms of abundance and gratitude and seeing the glass half full versus the glass half empty. We
Right.
also have the sleep, and I'm going to give you tips on how to get a better sleep because if we don't sleep well, we're not going to have our diet be well. We're not going to have a positive mindset and also stress. So I have these 5 pillars to teach you how to make your life an optimal life where you feel strong, where you feel confident, energetic, and just excited about life. When I wake up in the morning, I'm happy I'm awake. I can't wait to get my feet on the ground and get going and get started. It wasn't like that before carnivore.
Wow, that's actually a big shift that I see it from what you are saying. I love the conversation we had just now. And I think after watching this, a lot of people will get more and more clarity about why they should eat meat and not stick to only vegetarian options. So at least they
Yes.
can start to consider eating meat, and then slowly and steadily they can transform into complete carnivore. So,
Yeah, not everybody has to be 100% carnivore, you know.
yeah, yeah,
You can use it for a period of time to
right.
heal some of these things that are going on. Maybe your digestion's not well, maybe you're having fertility problems, maybe you have a thyroid disorder, maybe you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, maybe you have type 2 diabetes. Get yourself in that well state. And then if you want to start adding things back into your diet, try
Mm-hmm.
that. For me, it's just much easier to do this.
And your attention is not throughout the day on food.
It
Because
isn't.
you
That's
feel full, that okay, I'm completely full, because like every few hours I feel hungry. It's like I want to eat something. I would, so my attention some or the other way is on the food. But then the day I eat like just meat like around 12ish, 12 p.m., I feel like I'm full throughout. Like even if it's evening, I do not even want to eat dinner. So in some way your attention is out of the food, and then you can focus on working whatever you like to do in your life. So
so let me tell you a little story about that,
yeah,
Ankita.
yeah.
I group coach in a carnivore group and it's called Go Carnivore. I
Okay.
don't know if you've heard of that before, but at the beginning of the month for the new members, I always introduce myself and I tell them some of the benefits that I have by being carnivore. And the benefit that I love the most is I have food freedom. Now, how would you think by restricting all of the things around me that that's freedom? Well, for me, that is freedom because I used to be one of those people, if I opened up a bag of potato chips, I ate
Mm,
the whole bag. If I opened up a pack of cookies, I ate the whole pack. I
mm-hmm,
didn't know how to stop. I don't have a shut off.
mm,
But being carnivore, I'm satiated. I'm not hungry. I'm not craving sweets. I don't have that problem to overeat meat. I eat until I'm full and I'm done, and I don't have to think about food again for a long time.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
So the food freedom is great.
That's
No
great.
more addictive eating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And earlier, what I used to think was that, like, I'm an Indian, so mostly our food is based vegetarian. So sometimes, like, once a week, we cook meat, chicken, something like that, and then we eat. So that particular day, I used to feel heavy. Like throughout the day, I do not have my attention on food. So that day I used to think, oh my God, I ate too much today. I think for next 10 days, I should only stick to vegetarian options. So that was my thinking until this moment where you mentioned that this is actually good, that your attention won't be there and you have a food freedom.
Initially, you have to, I would love for you to try carnivore, and I would actually like to help you, guide you
Mhm.
on the way. You have to start slowly because right now, your gut microbiome, the little bacteria that you have in your gut, are suited to digesting plants.
Right.
And so that makes sense to when you ate meat, it did feel heavy. It probably did stay there longer than if I had eaten it because my little bacteria in my stomach is geared to processing the fats and the proteins.
Hmm.
So it would transition over, but I would want you to move slowly, not say tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and be carnivore. I would like you to do it very slowly.
Slowly. At least, yeah, start with like instead of once a week chicken, maybe I can start like 3 days a week chicken so that
Yeah.
slowly and steadily I'm just there. Yeah,
Yes,
I would
and
love
then
to.
when you get done with the chicken, I would like for you to transition to ruminant meats. What are ruminant meats? Do you know? They're
No.
they're cows, they're bison, they're lamb, they're deer, they're elk.
Okay.
They're animals that have multi-gastric stomachs. So the cows have 4 stomachs. And what happens is the cows break down all of those phytotoxins, so they're not in the meat. They get broke down in every different chamber of the animal. So their meat is a higher nutrient dense option. Chickens and pigs, ducks, those turkeys, they have 1 stomach. So if they're eating grains, or let's just go with grains that have been sprayed with glyphosate, a pesticide,
Mm-hmm.
they process it in that 1 stomach, and then it gets deposited in their meats. So then we eat that. We have some of those chemicals from the meats in our system. So when you have the ruminant meats, you have a lesser chance of having that because there's so many stomachs for that food to get processed through.
Okay.
And
Wow.
then the ruminant meats also have more fat. And so the more fat that we have, the better our hormonal balance is going to be, the better our mood is going to be. More fat equals less inflammation as well. When we eat fat, there's a minimal bump in our insulin, and too much insulin is going to cause a lot of inflammation. When we
Mm.
have protein, it's a little bump, but when you have carbs, it's a big bump. So if we have a higher fat, we're not going to be stimulating that much insulin, and you won't have that much inflammation.
Okay. Oh, that's eye-opener actually. This is actually good to know. Good to know that even though I am eating non-vegetarian food, but then I have to see what I am eating. It's not, I have to stick to chicken, but then transiting into something which I can have. Definitely, I can go for eating lamb for sure. And then transiting, yeah, one after
Yeah.
another.
And another thing that carnivore likes to have that might be acceptable for your background, being Indian, would be some salmon, because
Mhm.
salmon is very good omega-3 food to have. And omega-3s is very good for our brain, for that mental clarity, for that carnivore calm. So I can understand, being from where you are, that you might not want to have cows. You might not want to have some of those ruminant meats, but lamb, yes, that's a great one for people on the other side of the ocean.
Mhm.
Salmon, a lot of people have salmon, and that's acceptable too. And eggs are wonderful. Eggs have about 5 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat and 6 grams of protein. So they're very, very good.
Okay. Do you have any other thing around food that you want to share with us? Something that I have not even asked, but then you might have it and then you want to share it with the world.
A lot of people in the carnivore realm talk about grass-fed food, grass-fed meat versus grain-fed meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's probably better for you to eat the grass-fed, as the animal has an ancestral appropriate diet, but the cost is very high if you buy a grass-fed slice of meat versus a grain-fed slice of meat. So I say do what you can afford, do what is best. What I always tell my clients was, we are here today, living today, because our ancestors did something right. It's survival of the fittest, right? So
Right.
hundreds and hundreds of years ago, our ancestors ate a certain way, depending on what part of the world you came from. My ancestors are from Northern Europe, Sweden, Germany, that sort of in there. And so my ancestors probably predominantly ate meat. They probably ate a few seasonal fruits and vegetables. So for me, that's an ancestral appropriate diet. somebody who is from a tropical area, they probably had a lot of tropical fruit and they probably ate the meats and stuff too. They do a lot of research on the Hazda tribe and they have an ancestral appropriate diet and they have a lot of things that I wouldn't want to try, but it works for them. So you have
Mhm.
to think about where your ancestors came from, how they lived, and try to implement the diet. For me, it's carnivore um, of how your ancestors lived. They're you're here because they did something right.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful message for all of us. Thank you so much, Linda, for your all time and then the information that you provided. It was eye-opening.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome. I had a great time.
Today's talk with Lynda wasn't just about keto or carnivore, it was about freedom. Freedom from confusion, fatigue, or anything that no longer serves your body. Your health is your power, and when you own it, everything changes. And this is what being a magnetic woman truly means: owning your power, your choices, and your well being. This is Ankita Pandey. Thank you for watching Magnetic Women Monday. Until next time, stay magnetic.